What?
I just never thought we'd be here doing this.
Me neither.
You haven't even listened to my podcast, and now you're going to be on one. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Love of Fishing podcast. I'm your host, Lyle Gator, and today I'm joined by a very special friend, my girlfriend, Faith Brown. She's making her first appearance on the Love of Fishing podcast. I wanted to introduce you to her, and today we're going to be just talking fishing, talking about some questions that Faith has had just recently. We go fishing sometimes. People always ask me, do you want to have a girl that loves fishing? Would that be the best? And I've always said no. And the reason for that is because I just think it would complicate things if someone loved fishing as much as me. Luckily for me, I found somebody who loves to go fishing with me, but is not a fishing nut. So we maintain a good balance. Anyways, Faith, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Hi, everyone.
Before we started recording, she asked me some questions that came to the top of her mind. Like I said, when we go fishing, she often has questions for me. And while Faith does not have a background in fishing, it brings up an interesting point to me that when you are observant in fishing, questions come to you. When you boil it down, there's different levels you can get to. So today we're going to be talking to Faith about her questions that she asked. She's a novice angler, but an observant person. And I think this is going to be a really interesting discussion. Before we get into that, though, I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out to the Niagara Fishing Tackle Swap. We just recently had it at Eden High School in St. Catharines. The St. Catharines Game and Fish did a fantastic job putting on the event for their third straight year. It's an annual event, and we saw over 800 people become a part of that event. We had 595 people pay admission. $3,000 went to the GAMRU Grimsby Auxiliary Marine Unit, which is a search and rescue team on the south shore of Lake Ontario. Those guys do amazing work. We like to support them as much as we can through the Game and Fish. So overall, a fantastic event. Thank you to the vendors that came out and did their thing, showcasing their new and used tackle. It was a blast. And if you made your way out to the show, thank you very much for coming by. We'll get back into the episode here. Faith, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Faith's been fishing with me now for about a year.
Yeah.
A little over a year, because we started dating a little over a year ago. So she's been fishing with me the whole time, of course.
Almost the whole time.
Tell me a little bit about your first fish.
My first fish. Well, I dropped it in the water because I didn't want to hold it.
But
I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know, you made it seem easy for me, I guess. Because you did most of the work. I felt like.
You had a little trouble setting the hook.
Yeah.
Because I didn't tell you what that meant.
Setting the hook. Yelling that in my ear. And I'm like, I don't know. What does that mean? But
your casts were definitely better than I expected out like at the start.
yeah.
But the setting the hook was a little bit challenging.
Yeah. I didn't get that until my second fish.
Yeah.
Well, my second time fishing. Which was easier because it was bigger, the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like trout. Like I could feel it going through its mouth versus the bass.
Right. So, for context, the first time we went fishing together was for smallmouth bass, and we were using Ned rigs. So, Faith casted, and then to keep your line tight with a light Ned head is sometimes a little tricky. So, she had a hard time kind of feeling that initial bite. But the second time we went fishing together was for lake trout, and we were jigging. And you said you really felt like the jig and the fish biting it.
Yeah. With the bass, you told me I had a fish on before I knew I had a fish on. But the lake trout, I could feel it.
Yeah. We'll put up some pictures here of the lake trout that Faith caught. It was a big fish, and her arms were sore by the end of the day.
Sore.
Let's talk a little bit about some questions that you ask. And I hope I did a good job explaining this in the intro of why, to me, this is just so interesting. Like, dealing with people all the time that are I would say high-level anglers, but also dealing with people that are novice-level anglers thinking about the questions that people ask and understanding how they, come to information, how they learn. Always fishing with you teaches me something. The questions that you ask, the things that you see that maybe I've stopped seeing for a while, and it's something brand new to you, which I really find amazing. The first question that you asked me when I said, let's sit down on the couch and come up with a list of questions, you said, where do I find fish? Was there anything specific you meant by that?
No, I was just thinking, if tomorrow I want to go fishing by myself without you, how would I know where to go? Or what would be a good spot to start?
So we've already determined that she wants to go fishing without me.
Just brainstorming.
So this is a good question. I think this is sort of the core question of everybody who's going fishing. Fishing is a very geographical topic. If you're not somewhere that the fish are, you are not going to catch fish. So from a general perspective, where do I find fish? This is going to be in a variety of habitats. It could be in a lake, a river. It could be in a pond, a little tiny stream. Understanding where fish can live from a biological perspective is very helpful. And if you're not, too picky about what kind of fish you want to catch, the amazing thing about where we're from in Ontario is that pretty much all water has some kind of fish in it. As long as it's not, too processed by man or has too much pollution, generally you're going to find some kind of fish everywhere. So then it really becomes a question of what do you want to fish for, sort of how accessible is it to you. Right. The next question that you asked was, how do I know how deep the fish are? It's a good question. Do you mean like literally the depth of water?
Well, I just know when we've been fishing together, you talk about depth of where the fish are. So I didn't know if that was an important thing with fishing. And if you don't have a boat, or I didn't know if the boat comes with, whatever you call that, I see the depth.
The fish finder, yeah.
The fish finder. Do all boats come with it?
No, you have to add those on.
Okay. So if you don't have that, how would you know how deep you're going or how deep to go to get a fish?
Yep. Good question. Another great question. The fish finder helps, but it's a tool that you interpret like other, I'll call them cues in the environment. So, anything close to a shoreline generally is going to be shallow. Your eyes tell you a lot in fishing. Polarized sunglasses, huge help. You can see where rocks come up, where it's shallow, where it's deep. When you get more complicated into more advanced fishing like trolling, or you're targeting fish that are always swimming around and moving, that's where having the fish finder really makes a difference, because you can actually see where they're sitting in the water column. So the first thing that you should look for is, what's the overall depth? If you're in a boat, how deep is it under my boat? That's big. Mm-hmm. And basically, having a fish finder is the easiest way to tell that. But then seasonally, that can all change, where the fish are in the water. So it can get very complicated.
It's always changing.
Always changing. The next question and set of questions that you asked, I thought were very interesting. And this is why I didn't want to frame our conversation as necessarily a fishing for beginners. Because you asked a very simple question, but for even the most advanced trout anglers, they understand how important this question is. Does the hook size tend to go towards the fish or the bait?
Yeah.
And can you just explain what you meant by that?
It's if the hook's bigger or smaller or thinner. I didn't know if it was based off of the fish's mouth or what it's eating.
Right. Great question. I think a lot of people miss out on this when they're picking a hook. And It is a tricky thing to balance. I would say the hook should match the bait, but certain characteristics about the hook should match the fish. So every year when we trout fish, we use little teeny tiny hooks. They're called size 14, size 16, sometimes size 18 hooks. They're very, very small. And that's because the bait that we're using are eggs, fish eggs, very small. The idea is that we're not making those eggs look unnatural because they're being paired with a giant hook.
Right.
But the fish that we're catching with those are sometimes 15 or 20 pounds. They're huge fish. So the material that that hook is made of matters. It has to be a very high quality hook because it's so small that we can make it look natural by it being small, but have it strong enough that it can hold the fish when we have it on the line.
So if you're using a small hook and it's a big fish, does it go in the mouth easily? Like when you set the hook?
Yes, that's a good question too. Because sometimes, depending on what you're using, you may not be catching the fish in a meaty spot of the mouth. Like if a fish has a very bony mouth and you're using a small hook, there's not many places that hook can grab its mouth. So that can sometimes be difficult. There's other fish that, if they don't have great eyesight, you might be able to get away with a bigger hook. There's different shapes of hooks. There's different gaps or gapes, which refers to how wide the U shape of the hook is. So from that point to the shaft, you know how it forms a U. Some are very thin, some are much wider. They're called wide gape hooks, and that again just is meant to match the bait that you're using.
Okay.
So I think that's what you probably meant by widths.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the actual metal itself has different thicknesses.
Right.
So generally that scales. The smaller the hook, the thinner the hook. The bigger the hook, the thicker it can be. The next question you asked was, what do you need to know seasonally about fishing? Can you elaborate on that?
I was just thinking how fish are always changing. Like when we went and saw, what was it, the salmon, and they were mating, and they had all moved to like more shallow water and stuff like that. How you would know where to find them based on the seasons or the water temperature change, that kind of stuff.
So absolutely fish move seasonally. You mentioned migration due to mating. That's a huge one. Every fish species spawns. It undergoes that reproductive cycle. So that is a big movement factor for fish. Fish also eat. And if they prefer to eat a certain type of food, which most fish do, they will move seasonally to accommodate that. So in the summertime, I'll give salmon as an example. This is like a very tangible fish we can understand movement with. Fall time, we know that they're coming to shallow water into those rivers and streams to spawn because that's their purpose. That's what they do. But for 3 years, they have to eat and grow. So during that time that they're in the lake, they are following the water temperature and the bait fish. And that's their whole life. So 1 week, they might be in 50 feet of water, and they're eating bait there, and the wind changes, and it pushes all that water that they like out to 300 feet of water, 10 miles offshore. That's where they're going to go. So each fish has its own food source that it prefers to kind of utilize, and that means some fish move great distances, and some fish don't move very far at all. So it really is dependent on species.
So with the weather changing, does it change what kind of bait they like or no?
Yes. So some species will adapt based on the season. So salmon are very dependent on one type of food. So they will go wherever they need to find that type of food. Whereas other fish, like smallmouth bass or walleye, They are happy eating bait fish in the middle of a lake. But if those bait fish aren't there, or it's too hard for them to get them, they'll adapt and they'll eat gobies, or they'll eat crayfish. So depending on what's available for them in a comfortable temperature, they will adapt and eat those food sources.
So it depends on the fish.
Definitely depends on the fish. You commented on something I said, and that is that fish like to hang around rocks.
Yeah.
What was the next question that you asked?
What was the next question I asked? I'm brainstorming.
So how do you know where the rocks are?
How do you know where the rocks are? Cut that out.
I won't.
What?
No. I will. Maybe.
How do you know where the rocks are?
Fish finder, again. It's just like the cop-out answer.
Yeah.
Electronics.
Okay, but what about a beginner like me who doesn't have anything?
Great question. What you can do is you can take a sinker on your line, and let's say you're fishing from shore. You can cast out your sinker and let it bounce along the bottom and actually feel if that sinker is returning kind of a soft thud or a hard clink. And you can find out where the rocks are based on that. So let's say you and I are fishing along a roadway that's obviously been built up with chunky rock, like a causeway. That rock is only going to go out so far into the lake, and eventually it's going to get sandy or muddy or mucky or weedy. What you could do is stand on the shore and cast out and feel where your sinker is just kind of skipping along until you feel that clink, right? Because a rock is very hard.
Right.
And then you understand how far out those rocks go. So there's ways from shore and ways from the boat that you can find that out.
Okay.
But the cop-out answer is electronics.
It's the easy way.
Yeah. We're going to go to a part of the show now that's new, and we hope that you'll enjoy this a lot. We play this game, and it is called Name That Fish. And I'm not sure how do we come up with this game?
I think you were just trying to show me your book, and then I started listing facts, and you were like, wait, let me guess what fish you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then it became a game.
I brought up the Royal Ontario Museum Book of Ontario Freshwater Fish, which, by the way, has a new edition. I'm not sure if that's available to the public. I don't have it, but I've seen it. We're going to break out the book. Faith is going to ask me questions, and we're going to see if I can name that fish. We're going to put a special clause on this edition and say no fish in the Cyprinidae category. So anything in the green, carps and minnows, is out.
Okay.
Because there's hundreds, and they're very hard to name, so we won't do that. But suckers are good. Anything else in the book is good.
Okay.
So we'll play the game. Hopefully you enjoy listening and playing along. Faith is going to give the clues nice and loud so that we can hear them. And let's see how many guesses it takes me to guess the fish.
Okay. This fish has polka dots on its body. Its top fin has kind of stripes, vertical and horizontal pattern stripe things. And then the bottom two fins have white, black, and red. It's a deep-bodied fish. Its mouth extends backwards to well beyond the eye. They live in springs.
Let's cap it at 5 clues.
Okay.
So right off the bat, you gave me a couple descriptions of its physical appearance. You gave me its habitat. And you gave me
A fun fact.
a fun fact. I'm going to say it's a brook trout.
It is!
Yes!
Good job.
Oh, yeah. The polka dots gave it away. Because that's the only fish I would say has polka dots. We've got those orange with the blue halos. They're beautiful.
Oh. See, I don't know that. Okay. This one is very dark. It has multiple separate spikes on its back at the top. It's from Western Canada. Okay, Ontario average is 6.5 centimeters. And the Ontario record is 8.9 centimeters.
Okay. So we're dealing with a spiky back. Okay. Is it a stickleback?
It is a type of stickleback. Yes.
Okay. Pretty good. It helps to know that it's small. I'm going to say, because the sticklebacks could either be 3, 5, 9 spined.
Which one's your guess?
I'm going to say this is the 3.
No.
I'll put in the wah 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 music. Is it the 9?
It is the 9.
Oh, man.
Multiple spikes on the back.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Okay, pick another one.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
She made a face when she looked at the fish, so it's probably super cute.
This one's very shiny
Okay.
and gold, it looks. It has very bright yellow fins. It's thin from side to side. Ontario average is 18 centimeters. And the record is 25 centimeters. And it's cute.
It's got to be a goldfish. It's not.
No.
You said it was gold.
It is gold. Well,
Okay.
like yellowish gold.
Okay.
Like
Yellowish
fish
gold. Okay. Ooh. 18 centimeters. That's like, it's what, like 8 inches? I gotta pull out my ruler.
Oh, 7 inches.
7 inches. Okay. And you said, so it was kind of yellowish gold. It's cute.
Shiny.
It's shiny.
With bright yellow fins.
Bright yellow fins. Huh.
It's like a dark yellow gold.
Do you think I'll get it?
I don't know. I've never heard of this fish.
Okay. 7.1 inches. That's pretty big. It's a pretty big average size. I gotta get some more clues.
It describes it as the back and upper sides are brown to olive with golden tints to get the color better.
Okay.
The sides usually have numerous dark spots arranged in rows. The belly is white. The eye is usually red. Spawning males become darker.
Is it a bullhead?
No.
Is it a rock bass?
Yeah.
Yeah! Let's go!
Third guess. That's
Nice. Okay. I'm curious if the listeners got that one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you said gold, I went down the path of some kind of a coarse fish, like a carp or something like that. But it wasn't.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know fish, so I'm just reading something.
No, that's the beauty of this game is you're like, oh, let's pick something that looks cool. Faith selecting the next fish.
Okay. This one has a lot of, I don't know if they're scales or, I think they're scales, not polka dots. Very scaly, purple. It says silvery,
Okay.
but it looks purple to me.
Okay.
And there's a notch in the lower. Spawning occurs in the fall. Its snout overhangs the small mouth. Small, weak teeth are present only on the tongue.
Is it a Cisco?
No.
Okay.
It's shaped like a cylinder.
Is it a whitefish?
It is.
Yes. A lake whitefish?
No.
Oh, show me the picture.
You have to guess.
A whitefish.
Yeah, but what kind of whitefish?
A pygmy whitefish?
Do you want to see the picture and I'll hide the name?
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know.
You don't know it?
Well, the whitefish that we usually catch are just called lake whitefish. Is that a tube nose whitefish?
No, it's round.
The round whitefish.
Round white.
Okay. So we would never, ever see that.
No?
No.
It's in the map that it's you.
I'm sure it's here, but it's one of those species that you could even catch one and be like pretty sure that it's just a regular whitefish, but it's that kind. You know what I
They
mean?
all
Like,
look the same.
yeah, they all look the same.
I see.
It's still a valid fish. All fish matter. Let's do one more.
I think that's the first one you've not gotten since we played. Okay. This one's face is brown with teal stripes. Like an aquamarine teal color. And its body is... It's got yellow and the teal polka dots. Scales. Into their fins.
Can I have an average size?
9 centimeter. The record is 13 cent. It's round.
Okay.
Ish. Got like a black dot. That looks like an ear.
Okay. I'm going to make a guess. Based on it's some kind of sunfish.
Yes.
And based on its small size, I'm going to say that it's a warmouth.
No.
No. Okay. I'm warm on sunfish, though.
Yes. It's a sunfish.
It's not a pumpkin seed, is it?
No.
It's a long ear. What? Red ear?
No.
Oh, it's a green sunfish.
Green sunfish.
It says that its average size is only 6 centimeters.
Well, it has it with all the other sunfish for the average size. 9 centimeters.
Oh. You did a good job explaining that one.
Okay.
I should have thought about the aquamarine teal color and known
Yeah.
that it was a green sunfish.
Well, I started second guessing if that was because I saw green in the name. Then I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
did I explain the color wrong?
Yeah.
But
No, it doesn't. Especially when they're spawning, they get that really vibrant blue comes out of them. They're very pretty.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this edition of the Love of Fishing podcast. I'm your host, Lyle Gator, and...
I'm Faith Brown.
Perfect. Nailed it. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this podcast, if you want to see Faith back for another episode. You won't hurt my feelings if you don't, but I think she
You'll
enjoyed
have
it.
fun.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. I like talking fishing with you.
And she really means that. She's not just saying that. I can tell. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you want to hear more What Fish Is This games, we'll be happy to play. It's one of my favorite games to play. Get outside and go fishing. Peace.